Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Seegers, and this time we're joined by Derek Bidner and Ash Paulson to discuss a supposed leaked image from E3 2014 confirming a new Nintendo game being Mario Maker. So let's get right to it. Alright guys, so go figure that right after we post our E3 discussion, this supposed leak comes out showing off a new game. And I do have to say, this might already back up my my idea that Nintendo will have a new core Mario game.
Yeah.
Not quite, but... So this image comes from Nintendo Enthusiast, who, you know, they don't say exactly where the image came from, but it appears to be from someone who has access to the E3 show floor. Because they're in the process of setting up, you know, all the booths right now. And in this image, we can see a picture of a banner for Mario Maker in, you know, what appears to be Nintendo's booth. And based on, being at E3 tons of times, I mean, this looks to be the actual building itself. This looks to be the LA Convention Center. Now, this is entirely possible to be faked, of course. In fact, the fact that it uses like old school graphics too, which we'll get into as well, that is even easier to fake.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're going with this though is because the person who reported this on Polygon, it kind of suggested on Twitter that he thinks it's real. I don't know what he's basing that off of. As far as I know, Nintendo has not had any pre-E3 events that I know of. Maybe he's heard some other things too. I don't know. So before we get into how this game might work, assuming it's real, let's get into do you guys think this is real or not?
This is one of those weird ones where I saw this picture and I'm like, yeah, I'll buy that as real. I don't know why. I guess it was maybe it's the quality of the picture. Maybe it's because that really is. I was there last year. That's the convention center. It's almost the exact same spot they had last year. So, I don't know why, but yeah, I was like, yeah, I can believe this is real.
Well, it's funny they say quality of the picture, because the quality of the picture is actually pretty terrible. But I know what you're saying, like, it does look legitimate, is what you're getting at. Yeah,
I kind of feel the same way. I have no reason to believe it's not legit. I mean, it seems like a fairly obvious thing for Nintendo to do. It seems like an easy enough thing for them to do, and nothing really strikes me as being impossible to believe about this photo. Plus, looking in the back, it does look like the LA Convention Center, so it does seem like this could be totally legit.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose, I would lean toward it being real as well, because it does make sense on multiple levels. We've seen Nintendo reaching into like their catalog recently, like with NES Remix 1 and 2. Basically, finding new ways to reuse their older games. And this kind of ties into that, which is very interesting. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and yeah, I could see it being possible. Now, again, though, this also would be really easy to fake. I mean, the hand there, for instance, holding the stylus looks like, we've seen images of that before, and then you have the, retro style graphics. But I do think it makes sense, and so we'll operate on that assumption that this is a real thing. So first of all, is what platform would this be on? And it looks like there's some 3DS kiosks in front of here, if I'm looking at this correctly, I think.
It's kind of hard to tell.
It is, yeah. I'm not quite sure. But the thing is, it looks like they're holding a Wii U stylus on in that image. It's hard to tell for sure.
Yeah, it does look like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I could see this easily being on both, to be honest. I mean, both platforms have a touchscreen that would make it easy to create a Mario level using the stylus. And it doesn't seem like it would be... It doesn't make sense for it to be one or the other, really. Because it would be fun to be able to share these levels and play them on the go if you had it for both systems. So I could see it being on both, to be honest.
Well, that's a really good point, actually. Especially if they're going... maybe it's not even an actual, like, retail game. Maybe it is, like, an eShop game. And, yeah, you could share those back and forth. And if that's the case, if it is on 3DS... Maybe it's this will be the game they show off in their 90-minute presentation for the unannounced 3DS game. I don't think it is, because it seems like a lot of time to devote to just this, unless there's a lot more to this than we can see right now. But it's possible.
That's another reason I don't think that this is fake, because, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but I don't really think this is all that exciting. I mean, it's cool, I guess, but it doesn't have me go, oh my god, I can't wait to make my own Mario levels. So if someone's going to make a fake, why make a fake of something that's not really that?
Because he knew that's how you would look at it, thinking it wouldn't be fake.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are debating which platform it'll be on. I think it'll be just Wii U, honestly, just because because of the NES Remix games. I mean, it could pop up on the 3DS, but for some reason, my gut tells me Wii U if this is real.
Right.
And I think it'll be just because of the whole sharing of levels. That's going to be a lot of data transferring, what back and forth and whatnot, and they can even go one step beyond. And like we see, of course, Super Mario Brothers 1 assets in here. Who's to say they don't take the NES remix route and maybe put in more Mario games in there and have assets from a ton of different classic games, Mario Brothers 3, maybe even Super Mario Brothers Land, and put it all in there, maybe mix and match. Because here's the thing, and that's the other thing you mentioned about just the process of faking it. People have been making their own Mario levels for years now. This is something that's not new. So all it makes this new is official. So I think Nintendo has to do something a little bit different in order to get people to be interested in it. So if they can maybe mix and match different Mario games into this one Mario Maker, then they might have something that people would be a little bit more excited over. As stands, I'm like with Ash, because I said this before in my Pushmo review, where I don't have a mind for like designing levels or designing puzzles or designing that sort of stuff. I just can't do it. So, I know I'm not going to be able to come up with a really good Mario level, so I'm just like, not for me.
Yeah, so I guess we can get into what the game's about. So obviously, it's going to be a game where you make Mario levels. If this is true, we can see them dragging parts around on the picture. It looks like they're moving a piranha plant around, and you can see a stack of Goombas there, which is actually reminiscent of things we've seen in like Mario Kart or Super Mario 3D World, the more recent Mario games, basically. And then there's a hammer brother popping out of a pipe. So at a bare minimum, it looks like they are allowing a fair amount of creativity here. Whereas before only piranha plants popped out of pipes, it looks like you might be able to throw whatever you want in there now. And having a hammer brother pop out of pipes sounds like a terrifying thing.
Yeah, really.
So I guess going off of your excitement level, I think I'm a little bit more looking forward to it a little bit more than you are, Derek. I do like the idea. I mean, a Mario creator, like an official one, is something people have been asking for forever. Like even with the new, with the most recent new Super Mario Brothers games, it's something people have wanted, and it makes sense. It just makes a ton of sense. It's actually kind of surprising that they haven't done this already. Again, assuming this is true. But with that said, every time I've thought about that, wanting to make my own Mario levels, making Mario 1 levels wasn't what came to mind. I had my fill of Mario 1, like I played enough of it. That series has evolved so much since then. I want to do things with more current Mario games.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I would rather see something where you can make your own levels in the new Super Mario Brothers games or something like that. This just seems... I think this would be interesting, kind of like Derek said, if you can mix and match assets from various 2D Mario games.
Right.
Like, enemies and tile sets and things from, Mario Land 2, Mario 3. That would make it interesting, just to see, various elements from different Mario games in the same level. But if not, I don't know if a Mario 1 level maker is something that a lot of people are really dying for, because, as we just said, this has been something that's been happening unofficially for years now.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, there would have to be a lot more going on here than what they're showing. In order for that to be super enticing, unless it's really cheap, which it might be. I mean, I would definitely try. I mean, I would definitely play with it, of course. But I mean, it's hard to get innately excited or that excited for something that we've seen in various forms before. But it will be a lot easier to use now. It is officially endorsed, and presumably they have some really good sharing features using Miiverse or whatnot. Or Street Pass, or whatever else, whatever platform ends up on, being on, and whatever features they they roll into it. But I would love if you could mix and match features. It's something we kind of saw, I think, with maybe not entirely, but like with Mario 3, when it came to the Game Boy Advance and the e-reader cards, and you could scan in the levels using the cards, and some of them had elements from other Mario games. Like I think they had a cape from Mario World, for instance, as one, and there were a few other things in there too. If you could do something along those lines, that would be awesome. And then. But, even if not, maybe they're doing enough here where you can just play with the core mechanics of Mario enough that it feels different and unique. I mean, again, it kind of gets back to the Hammer Brother thing there, which I think might be hinting at hopefully greater things. And the stack of Goombas there, too. What if you can play around with the physics even, like change of gravity, or, what if they add new objects, for instance, new things to play around with?
Well, we see another sign of that by having a... God, it's been so long since I played the original Mario Brothers. Was there a winged Goomba in the original Mario Brothers?
No, there was not.
There's one in this one.
Yeah, you're right. I just saw that now. Yeah,
it's at the bottom of the stack. There's a winged Goomba.
Good catch.
So that is from Mario Brothers 3, I believe, is the first time it showed up. So right there is a different asset from a different game. Now, it's, of course, maybe they just took the wings and popped them on there. So maybe you can even create your own Mario, variations of enemies. But the other thing I was thinking of is you were talking about physics. Well, this is a Goomba stack, so maybe as the winged Goomba jumps up, they sort of pop up, so they sort of actually can get some oomph and actually jump higher, because on their own, Goomba stacks are, tall, but they're not exactly hard. So by having them bounce up like that is actually a pretty clever idea and makes it a bit more threatening. But yeah, already we're seeing some variations here, which could hint that they are using this idea that they can use multiple Mario games for this maker.
Yeah, totally. The Goomba thing is definitely, the Wing Goomba is definitely a good catch. Assuming that's what it is possible like it's a cloud in the background, although a cloud never appeared in that spot in the original game at that level. So I am inclined to agree that it is a Goomba or a Wing Goomba. And then can you guys tell what's going on below that? I think it's below the Koopa Troopa on the left. I think that's a Koopa Troopa on the left, right? Like what is?
Yeah, I think so.
I was trying to tell what that is, and I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, are those springs or?
I think those are springs.
Yeah, they could be springs.
What's weird is that it's a spring in sort of an L shape. So two springs are on top of one another. So what the heck is going on there?
So is a spring bouncing off a spring, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't quite tell what's going on there, but if that is indeed a Wing Goomba at the bottom of the stack, that instantly has become the most interesting part of this picture for me.
No, I agree. So this has gotten more interesting as we've been talking about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So if that's just the tip of the iceberg for elements that they're adding, it could be pretty cool. Like I said, this is something everyone, a lot of people wanted, and I was excited for, and this is getting a little bit more exciting. So if they don't roll in more elements into this game from other Mario games, then what if they turn this into like a series? Like they have Mario Maker 2, Super Mario Maker 3, Super Mario Maker World, I think that'd be awesome, actually.
That just seems, I don't know, that just seems tiring to me. It's like,
yeah.
I don't think I really want to see them.
It could almost be like expansion packs, right? Like you download new expansions and then it enhances the core game.
That's true. I guess if they did it as expansion packs, that I think I like that idea more than having a separate game for each, or a separate Mario Maker for each game. Mario game.
Then there's a possibility of what if this is the game or a game that ties into their whole NFC thing, where maybe that is how you add like new items or objects.
That's true.
Is by scanning in actual toys you acquire.
That I could see definitely being a possibility for sure.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. I'm not quite sure. It seems odd because all these other NFC toys use more, I don't know, advanced objects. So it'd be sort of weird to get a nice, really cool looking winged Goomba statue and scan it in, and it's 2D in Super Mario Brothers graphics. That's sort of a letdown to me.
Well, it will tie into the whole thing with Nintendo saying before that their figurines wouldn't be tied to just one game. It would tie into multiple games, so that'd be a way to reconcile that. It would appear as a 2D Goomba in this game, scan to another game, and appears in 3D or whatever.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things they can do with it, and I think, on the basis, I know there's a lot of people out there who do have a lot of creativity, so even if you're not into making these stages, playing other people's stages could be a lot of fun, because we've seen people's creativity at work with a lot of, like, different, any sort of option that allows them to use that creativity, and you can have some really fun stages. So we could probably see something like that with Mario Maker. At least of course that's the hope. But I don't know. It's a sort of a weird thing where they could do very interesting things with it, but on the whole, it doesn't really interest me that much.
Well, I guess that's the thing for me, is it's more interesting from a conceptual standpoint, in that Nintendo's finally exploring user-generated content, really.
Right.
This is something people have wanted forever, and I've wanted Nintendo to make a game like this for a long time. Not necessarily a Mario Maker, which, by the way, I love that name. It's such a perfect name for this. But I've wanted to create tracks in like Mario Kart, for instance, or even going more outlandish. I've wanted to see this for a while. I would love a Zelda Maker. I want to create like my own mini Zelda games, where I can create the dungeons, I can create the overworld, I can create the characters, I can create the story. I would love for that to happen, and this, if this is a baby step to that, I'm all for this.
Well, what's interesting though, this isn't actually the first time they've kind of explored user-generated content, because a couple years ago, or a few years ago, there was WarioWare DIY.
That's true.
Which was actually pretty popular for the people who actually played it, and so this isn't totally unprecedented. But yeah, I think of course Mario is more of a crowd pleaser, and it's more immediately recognizable and understandable from a Mario 1 standpoint. So
yeah. Well, and Nintendo also had the F-Zero Track Maker 2 in Japan.
That's true.
Disc drive. So it's something they've played around with before, but I only, aside from F-Zero, they never really play around with the mechanics of one of their core games that I can think of offhand. Besides, I guess there was Excitebike and Excitebike 64.
Right.
So there have been a few times, but I would love to see them go even farther with this concept, and do more games. And if this game does well, assuming it's real again, I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, people want to see this, I think, and see more things like this. And and if this is what it takes to get to being able to create our levels in the next new Super Mario Brothers game, so be it.
Right. Well, let's just hope this isn't a repeat of Nintendo Land, where we think this is a kind of a cool little thing on the side they're working on, and then it ends up being like the main crux of their 90-minute presentation, where it's like, yeah, this is our next big thing, guys, and then we're all left like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think it's going to be part of their 90-minute presentation, especially
Right.
Especially if it is a Wii U game, as it appears it might be. I mean, that would obviously rule it out. But yeah, I can't imagine a scenario in which I can devote 90 minutes to this game, unless there's so much more here than we can possibly imagine, where
Right.
you can create any Mario game.
Right.
So you have Super Mario Sunshine Mario in classic Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, actually, that kind of does remind me though. So this whole thing does kind of remind me a little bit of Super Mario Crossover. Which in and of itself, we saw a little bit of in NES Remix 2. The Super Mario Crossover allowed you to play the original Mario Brothers, as multiple characters, like Link or Metroid or Samus or even Mega Man, some other retro characters.
Right.
It would be awesome if they did something along those lines here. They wouldn't be able to get Mega Man in here, probably, of course. But
Yeah.
they, allowed a few other Nintendo characters, like we saw in their very own NES Remix 2. And what if they even brought in enemies from those games, for instance? Again, like NES Remix 2, and you just kind of jumble all these classic elements together.
That would be awesome, and I think that would be the one thing besides mixing and matching the various games that could really get me interested in this game. If this really is just a Super Mario Brothers 1 level maker that's just bare bones, I'm not interested at all. But if it does include things like that, then that could potentially be very interesting.
I'm totally with you. What if you can actually drag the wings onto anything and just make anything a winged object? You have winged Hammer Brothers. That'd be even worse than the Pipe Hammer Brothers.
That's terrifying.
You want a true final boss.
Yeah, really.
Right? Oh man, that's terrifying. All right, well, any final thoughts, guys? Anything we didn't discuss, or any final points you wanted to bring up about Mario Maker, assuming it's real?
Yeah, not really. Like I said, I need to see more of it. I think that has potential, but as it stands right now, from what we can see, I just can't get that excited for it. It's cool, but just not super excited.
Yeah, again, I'm more intrigued by the idea and what all's going to come of it. It's not super exciting by itself, but it is. I think it's a cool novelty. I think it could be a very cool thing if they do it right, but I'm more excited for what it could mean in the future. Alright, well, I think that wraps up for our Mario Maker discussion. Thanks guys for watching. If you like this discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. And also make sure to check out our super recent E3 discussion, which covers everything but Mario Maker, which you can also find links to in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Mario Maker, maybe, if it's real, at E3, and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.